You won't believe what happened when an HOA demanded a mother remove her ramp. What happened next exposed secrets no one in the neighborhood saw coming, and it changed everything she thought she knew about her own community. HOAs can keep a street looking neat, sure, yet sometimes they push too far. So when Patricia Simmons saw a notice about a new HOA president, she expected repairs and order. Instead, the board demanded her son's wheelchair ramp come down, and that set everything in motion. Patricia, 56, lives in a Bakersfield suburb and works part-time as a secretary. She's Matthew's only caregiver. He's 15, has muscular dystrophy, and needs access that most homes don't offer. So Patricia bought a house already adapted, even though money was tight. Then came the new HOA president, Jontique Allard, and she called the ramp an eyesore. Patricia replied calmly, explaining Matthew's mobility needs and why the ramp mattered. Jontique showed up anyway, warned of fines, and made her position crystal clear. Rather than wait for the HOA, Patricia started taking the ramp apart so she could rebuild it at the back door. Inside, she found a hidden compartment packed with papers, blueprints, flyers, and Polaroids tied to a fully accessible neighborhood. The ramp was hiding history. Legal aid stepped in fast, and a pro bono attorney pointed Patricia to the Fair Housing Act and the ADA. She gathered neighbors, brought the evidence to a board meeting, and challenged the HOA head-on. The result? Jontique was voted out, and the fight turned into a movement. One day, Patricia opened the mail and found a notice naming Jontique Allard as the new HOA president. The old board had done little, so Patricia hoped this one might finally spend money on youth spaces and neighborhood upkeep. She wanted progress, not problems. Dear Patricia, the letter began, polite on the surface and sharp underneath. The HOA said leadership had changed, asked her to remove the unsightly ramp, and claimed it didn't fit the neighborhood's look. In plain language, they wanted her son's access gone. Patricia was stunned. A wheelchair ramp didn't match the neighborhood aesthetic? That made no sense. She knew Jontique was new, but this wasn't a style issue. The ramp existed so Matthew could get in and out of the house safely, and that should have ended the argument. That night, after Matthew was asleep, Patricia sat down and wrote back. She kept the tone respectful but firm. Her letter explained Matthew's muscular dystrophy, her life as a single mother, and why the ramp was essential for daily mobility. Civil, clear, impossible to ignore. Patricia didn't tell Matthew about the HOA fight. She thought her letter would settle it and didn't want to add stress to his life. A week passed, then another. No reply, no warning, no action. For a moment, it seemed the problem had quietly gone away. During dinner, the door suddenly rattled with a hard knock. Patricia opened it to find a polished woman on the porch wearing a practiced smile. "Good evening, ma'am. I'm Jontique Allard," she said, like she was there to help. She wasn't. "Did you not get my letter?" Patricia asked, trying to stay calm. Jontique's polite face dropped in an instant. "That ramp has to go," she snapped. "It's an eyesore, and it's hurting the neighborhood's aesthetic." The mask was off, and the message was brutal. When Patricia closed the door, her hands were shaking. Matthew had heard the whole exchange and stood there looking crushed. Patricia was devastated. The HOA wanted the ramp gone, and she knew she couldn't simply pay for another one if they forced her hand. So Patricia made a choice. Instead of waiting for the HOA to tear it down, she would dismantle the ramp herself. Then she could rebuild it at the back door and keep a usable path for Matthew from the front yard to the house. Control mattered now. As she pulled out nails and lifted planks, Patricia kept every piece together. Then she noticed something odd inside the frame. In the fading light, the structure looked more complex than a simple ramp. She leaned closer and saw papers tucked deep inside. "Wait, what is this?" Patricia muttered, carrying the papers to the porch light. They weren't junk. They looked like blueprints, floor plans, structural drawings, design notes, and from her work at an architecture firm, she knew real plans when she saw them. These drawings weren't ordinary. Patricia was looking at plans for a fully accessible neighborhood. Wide sidewalks, gentle slopes, step-free entries, widened doorways, every detail thought through. It was a complete vision of inclusion hidden inside a ramp. Once she finished with the blueprints, Patricia hurried outside for the rest. There were hundreds of documents, disability rights flyers, meeting notices, event announcements, and letters asking for change. The ramp had been carrying an archive all along. Too wired for sleep, Patricia stayed up late on her laptop. She searched Arlo Katz and his movement, piecing together the history behind what she'd found. She knew the disability rights struggle from the 1960s and 70s, but not that so much of it had happened nearby. By the time Patricia got into bed, her mind was still racing. The documents inside the ramp kept replaying in her head. In one way, she was almost grateful Gentique had made the demand. Without that order, the hidden papers might have stayed buried forever. The next morning, Patricia called legal aid and was connected to a private attorney who took pro bono discrimination cases. Nervously, she explained the ramp, the HOA threats, and the pressure on her family. She expected legal jargon. Instead, she got a plan. The HOA's demand was discrimination. Under the Fair Housing Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, housing providers can't deny reasonable access because someone has a disability. Patricia finally had the law on her side. With legal advice in hand, Patricia organized her evidence and brought neighbors into the fight. At the HOA board meeting, she laid out the facts while her attorney backed her up. The board wasn't just being unfair, they were violating federal law, and everyone in the room knew it. Pressure on Gentique Allard kept building as more residents spoke up. The evidence was hard to deny, and the complaints kept coming. She eventually agreed to a community vote. In a tense meeting, residents removed her, citing the discriminatory attack on Patricia's ramp. Inspired by Arlo Katz's legacy, Patricia and Matthew joined with Paloma to start a neighborhood disability rights group. Their first meeting happened right at home, and people came. Neighbors, families, advocates, Kulam drawn by one goal: making accessibility real. When that letter from the new HOA president arrived, Patricia felt her stomach drop. Remove her son's wheelchair ramp? It looked like the start of another fight. Instead, dismantling the ramp uncovered disability activism, and that discovery pushed her toward a wider cause. This story works because everyday life collided with law and history. Patricia refused to back down, and one act of defiance exposed decades of advocacy. It's a reminder that courage matters, but so do rights, proof, and the willingness to use them when the pressure comes. Inside that ramp was the kind of hidden archive that changes everything. Blueprints, letters, and flyers linked Patricia's present fight to real local activism from years before. Suddenly, the ramp was more than wood and nails. It became evidence, memory, and leverage. This wasn't a solo win. Once Patricia laid out the facts, neighbors who had stayed quiet stepped forward. They showed up, asked questions, and voted when it counted. The turning point came because a community chose inclusion over silence. Legal protection made the difference here, plain and simple. Patricia got counsel, cited the right laws, and used that backing to shift the board's thinking. The story shows that rights on paper can protect real people if someone is willing to stand up and use them.